Hi, hello, and welcome or welcome back. I suppose slightly different filming setup. I have no idea what the lighting's like. I can't really see because I'm not using my tripod. I currently have you on my bookshelf, so I just have my phone's flashlight in my eyes, and that is right where I have to look if I want to look at the camera, so I can't see anything. But today I wanted to do something a little bit more casual, I guess. I mean, it's not that my books are incredibly structured anyway, but I just wanted to do something where this is ultimately just going to be background noise for you. I know that this time of year is the sort of time where now I'm quite lucky. I have people around me, but I know plenty of people don't. So I figured I would be here as background noise, as a voice in the background for anybody who just doesn't have anybody at the minute. And I figured I have a section of my shelf. I have two full shelves and one extra little bit of maybe 5 or 6 books, I think, is there, of stuff that I have read. The rest of my shelf, which is my laptop making a huge amount of noise, thank you. So I have two full shelves on this bookshelf, one mostly full shelf on this bookshelf, and then I have one of these. I mean, they're technically the Wilkinson's ones, not the IKEA ones. I've got a proper IKEA one down there, but I have one of those full as well of books that I haven't read. Now, I want to go through my have read stuff and kind of figure out, okay, do I need to keep these? Because if I'm going to be adding to my shelf, I'm getting to the point where I can't add anything else. I'll show you, because once I finish filming this part, I'm going to film just the 3 shelves where I have the books that I haven't read, just to show you what I'm working with. And then I'm going to go through got a little thing here, my terms for decluttering, because I think I need this. I'm just stacking books on top of the shelf. It's a bit of a state, and I'm just thinking, do I need this much? Now, where did my brain just go? That was it. Now, my collection of books over here isn't going anywhere. So most of it is my Dracula collections. I have a fair amount of those. I also have my special edition of Hitchhiker's Guide over there because it's huge and it was taking space up over here. Same with my Oscar Wilde collection. When I bring my big, pretty Sherlock Holmes collection up, that will probably go on there as well. But on here is basically everything else. There's a few nice additions of things, but as far as I'm aware, nothing's actually missing that I would actively be getting rid of. So I know that I don't have the 2 Grady Hendrix books that I read earlier this year because I lent them out to my brother. And I know that I don't have that awful Elena Romas book that I did the TikTok video about, The Spanish Love Deception. I don't have that because I made my friend read it after I read it myself, and they've still got it and they can fucking keep it. So, oh, and I don't think, Frankenstein's not on here after having read that as part of the Iron Maiden video, and I just haven't put it back on my shelf yet. I think that's still downstairs. But I think most books that I currently own are on here, and any books that I do own but haven't read are also on the other part of this shelf. And if they're not, doesn't matter, because I'm not going through any of the books that I haven't read yet, because they are for the future. So, my terms of decluttering. So, part one, I think is pretty obvious. Did I actually enjoy it? Now, I think everything on my shelf currently is a book that I actively enjoyed. I think I just put that there as a baseline, because there might be one or two where I go, well, actually. And, you know, there are a couple that I've got rid of, like the crime fiction that I had. Which one was it? Jeffrey Deaver. That just went to a charity shop, which is probably where this lot is going. The stuff that I do get rid of, I'm gonna check if my library accepts donations, and if not, I'm just gonna take it to a charity shop. I would go through one of those companies like Ziffit or We Buy Books that you can sell books to, but quite frankly, I used to work in one of those places, and I don't wanna. I used to work for one of them, and listen, the people there were lovely, but I had some of the worst panic attacks I've ever had working in that building, so I refused to work. I refused to use a single one of them. So I don't care if I don't make money off this. Just go to the library or go to a charity shop if I can't. Secondly, is it a special edition? So, like my Frankenstein, it's that cloth bound version. I have a couple of others that are in similar sort of style with that, where it's a nice copy, it is nice just visually. Or, in one case, I don't think this is true, but if it's signed and dedicated, but that also sort of comes up under another thing that I've got coming through. So I've got, will you read it again? No, really? Will you read it again? I have that on there twice, because so many of those books, when I say at the end of the review, yeah, I think I would read this again, that doesn't necessarily mean that I am guaranteed to read it again. It's just in theory, I would probably read it again. So I'm looking here, I can see Crybaby, which I read right at the beginning of this year. I think it might have even been the first book I reviewed for this channel. I look at that and go, yeah, I would probably read that again. But looking through, I have like Hamnet there, which I did enjoy, but I don't know that I would actively read that again. It was good for what it was, but I probably wouldn't read more. I would want to read it again, kind of thing, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that I am guaranteed to read any of them again, because I do this. I review books for a living, right? I read from my shelf, I read from libraries, and I read ebooks and listen to audiobooks and all of that. I do a lot of reading. I, because of doing this, don't have time to reread books. The only time I will reread a book is for a project. I spoke about that a bit in the Iron Maiden video. So with Dracula, with Frankenstein, with Murders in the Rue Morgue, there were a couple of others in there. Yeah, I've read them before, but I'm only reading them again because I have to. There are a few books on here that I have tattoos of. These are books that will stick with me, so I currently have a wrist strap on, so I'll have to take that off, because my wrist and hand have been giving me grief. So I don't talk about my tattoos much on here. So I have, as I have mentioned over there, I have Dracula, a love of that. I have a fair amount of copies of him. I have a Hitchhiker's Guide tattoo. Again, I have a really nice version of all of the books in one big copy. If I read them again, I'll be listening. That's how I read that book the first time, and it's usually how I enjoy that book if I'm going to be going over it again, is through the audio. And it's a really nice collection of audios. It's the ones on Audible. I don't know if they're exclusive. So I know Stephen Fry reads the first one and Martin Freeman reads the rest. and they're all wonderful. So yeah, I also have, I don't know how well this is going to show, but I can refilm it if I have to. I have 2 Good Omen tattoos there, just some little ones, and I'll have to do it upside down, but I have a little baby Moomin because he's very cute. I don't actually own any physical copies of Moomins, but it's like, so the next thing on my terms is it here for sentimental reasons? So there are books that I have that are old, that I was given by certain people, or they're dedicated, like I have assigned and dedicated, like I was talking earlier, or they're books that I have that I want tattoos, that I already have tattoos of, or that I want tattoos for in the future. I'm looking at one in particular right now. And then I have, do you need to reread it for a sequel? So there are, I can think of at least 1 or 2 that I have on here that, there's one where I'm trying to find out where it is, which I know I have. Where is that? I know I have that first one. That's H-I-J. Did I get rid of that? Did I move it elsewhere? No. That's very odd. Okay. Oh, no, it's there. Right in front of me. Okay. So I have the second book in Jonas Jonasson's The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out of the Window and Disappeared. I have the sequel to that, and I like having the first book. I know you're getting some spoilers of which ones I'm not getting rid of, but it's nice to be able to have that first one, even if it's just a case of, oh, that was in the first one and I want to go back and be able to check. And I have a project planned next year with a few of these. They're also sentimental, but I want the rest of that collection. But yeah, I have a couple on here that I'm like, oh, it would be good to have for future reference. And within that frame, I also have, do I need it for a future video? And there are a couple on here. So I'm going to find out where I can move you to, where I can go through my shelf, and then we can do some decluttering. So, like I was saying, I have books stacked on books. So here's shelf 1 with all of my cursed little wrestling figures. I also have some regular wrestling figures, but most of them are small and cursed because they make me happy. And then we have a second shelf with a little thing from, where are you? Where's my hand? There. From Little Big Planet. If my hand looks blue, don't worry about it. I dyed my hair recently and it slightly stained my hands. There's also a couple of books just over here. And then finally, probably the worst shelf in terms of stacking because I have new and old books on there. And also you get to see my horrible cursed little clown. Here we go. So anything after that bit of paper, they're all new to me, unread. That's a little frog. Enjoy that. Here's my horrible little clown. And then there's the little section on that. You can see the absolute state of my shelf there. Let's try and move that over. There's what I have read. Like, there's what I have read. There's what I haven't. So, let's go through this, shall we? So, I know... No, that's an awful angle. What does that look like? What is that? Is that just a shadow? Oh, that's that reflecting. Okay. Alright. Okay. I know this is a weird angle because you're all the way down there, but usually if I want that to be higher up on my window, I would stack it with books, but that's currently what I'm going through. So, first up on my shelf, well, first of all, we're going to move Hangman because he's currently in the way. So, I'm just going to move some little bits off the top here. And if I need to move anything else, then we'll get there when we get there. So, the first two books I'm going to just have a quick look at are the two that are on top, which are The American Roommate Experiment and The Secrets of Happiness. So, let's just go through them together. So, did I enjoy them? Absolutely enjoyed both of these, which is still surprising with this one, honestly. I knew I was going to enjoy a Lucy Diamond book. It's a Lucy Diamond book. I'd be more surprised if I didn't enjoy it. But this, after the fucking state of the Spanish Love Deception, honestly, neither of these are special editions. I'm sorry you fell over. We're back here. So, like I was saying, neither of these are special editions. Now, will I read either of these again? Would, yes. Will, I don't know. Maybe the Lucy Diamond one, because I do find a certain sense of comfort in this book, in her books. But I genuinely think I would read this again. Those questions are going to trip me up every time because there's so much on here that I probably won't read again. I think those are for if I'm struggling to think, should I keep this? Are these here for sentimental reasons? Not really. But I do quite like collecting Lucy Diamond's books. Actually, I don't have that many of hers because most of them I borrowed from the library. I have at least one on my to-read shelf. I think I only have the one. Yeah, because that's Dickens. So, we will have a maybe pile for this, I think. Because I won't need either of these for a sequel. Although, maybe this, because I don't know what Armas's... Because I'll probably read whatever Armas puts out next, because I'm genuinely curious. This is going to be so much harder than I thought. Oh no! I thought I was genuinely going to be getting rid of like loads, and now I'm going, okay, but what if I don't? So, Lucy Diamond I think is a keep, because I like collecting her books, and I do want to buy more of her books as well, because like I said, most of them are from the library. Feel free to tell me off, because I'm going to be keeping more. This is probably going to be a video that doesn't even go out, because I'm just like, nothing, I didn't get rid of anything. That's going to be a keep. And for the reason that I said that I might need it for a future video, because I read this really quickly after the Spanish Love Deception, so a lot of that was still in my head. But you've seen how much I read in a year. If I'd read Spanish Love Deception at the beginning of the year and was then going, wait, who the fuck is this person in here? I would not have remembered, and that would have been quite difficult. And no, I didn't have that book on me at the time, but I was like, wait, that's the roommate, isn't it? Not the roommate, that's the co-worker, her friend, co-worker person. And I could verify that with my friend who I'd made read the first one. So yeah, no, they're staying. They're both staying. Okay. Now we have my... Hello. That's a DVD, but it's very small, so it fits on my bookshelf. So next, we have my short fiction and graphic novels. So, first up, Cat Person by Kristen Ripenian. I remember reviewing this one, and I got this as a gift from one of my friends. I'm almost certain of it. And because of that, that covers the sentimental reasons. I did really enjoy it. It's not a special edition, but it's cute, it's a square, it's small, it's not really taking up space. Will I read it again? Maybe, because there is a project that I have coming up next year. Again, do you need it for a future video? There's a video that I want to do that I was honestly, if you go back and watch the early videos in this channel, I was talking about maybe wanting to do a video essay that I never got done because I lost all of my notes for it, and I was just like, I'm not fucking doing it now. So I want to keep this because it would be really good for reference. Next, Blobfish and Friends and The Screen. Blobfish and Friends by Kelly. Kelly Angel. Isn't Kelly Angel who did my muscular Pokemon? I'll let you know. I'll show you some muscular Pokemon. I swear that's the same, but hang on. Anything comic. It is. And again, signed with a blobfish. So I love this book. She might be. I think she's a local artist that I met her at Manchester Comic Con a few years ago. Same with Sajan Rai, who did The Scream. Now, I don't think this is a signed copy, is it? No, but I do have signed copies, and I'm not getting rid of this because I fucking love this book, and I love all of their stuff. Something I didn't put on there is given that, like, in very independent authors, who I don't know if these people are signed. I think they do their stuff themselves. I'm not getting rid of these. These are beyond sentimental. I love, like, stuff that I get from cons. They're not going anywhere. There's a book that I got recently. If I do another one of these after I've read it, it's not going anywhere. So, they're staying. Paga by Maria Apicella. I reviewed this, I think, in my first year of doing book reviews. I remember reading it on a train. It was weird. I remember reading it on a train between home and Aberystwyth, where I went to university. I couldn't remember which way. And there was a fair amount in here that I was quite... It's a poetry collection. And there was a lot that made me feel quite nostalgic and, like, not nostalgic, but, like, sentimental, I guess. Because she's a fellow ABBA alumni. But I didn't enjoy the whole collection. There's a lot of religious stuff in here that it's just not for me. And I don't read poetry collections over and over again unless I'm super attached to them. Or, yeah. I think this might be in the donation pile, because somebody else will really enjoy this, and I'm just unlikely to read it again, so... Inigordna Androgyny by... That's horrible. Why can't I remember? They've changed their name, and now I'm just staring at this. Kel? Sorry. I believe they're Kel now. Can't check because my laptop's right fucking here. It's very rare that I have this opportunity, because usually I'm sat here on my... Like, my tripod usually kind of sits on top of my laptop if it's up here. And obviously I use my phone to film. So, we're currently waiting on my laptop being nice to me. Hang on. Okay, two things. I will put the link to the review I did for this poetry collection. I'm also absolutely keeping it because it was brilliant. Stuff about gender and transness and all that. It looks like they are currently going by River Williams. There we go. They have changed their name since I did my review, I believe. But we are keeping that. And also, while I'm here, because I put that name in, Anything Comic, Kelly Let me go. Yeah. Oh, that's so weird. I didn't realise that. So yeah, the person who did Blobfish and Friends also did my, not my, but the stickers that I have of the Muscular Pokemon because they're cute and funny. I love them. Next up, we have Iron Maiden, Legacy of the Beast, the first comic. We are keeping this because I have the sequel and I want to read this before reading the sequel because it's been a long time between. That's just an immediate keep. Let's move you back there. And finally, in our, oh, well, I have a few other like graphic novel, comic book type stuff, but they're, I don't know why I decided to like put. Well, some of them is because they're hardbacks and they don't really fit there as much, and some of them I think it's just because they're a bit bigger. Also because I don't make my mind up about anything. Finally, we have When the Wind Blows by Raymond Briggs. I read this recently for the Iron Maiden project. I really enjoyed it, but I'm never going to read it again. I don't feel sentimental towards it. I don't think I'm ever going to need this for a future video. If I do, yeah, I mean, I can look at my plans, but I don't think I have anything that I would need this for. So, get in the pile. Right, I'm going to put, well, apart from my two bigger books, because I don't know how they're going to fit in just yet, let's put you, let's move you on there. And let's put my keeps on here. So, and I don't have a huge amount of, I think I have these in order, because that's like, I think I just usually go for size with these. Everything else I organise by author surname first, and then I go for, if there's an order to a series, then they go in that order. Or if I know the publication order. So like I've got 3 of Beth O'Leary's books. I never bought Road Trip, but so when I read that recently, that was from the library. But the 3 books I've got them in publication order. But with some stuff, I don't think I have much else. Yeah, so I've got some Tom Holt in my haven't read yet, and those are just in alphabetical order because I don't know what order they came out in. If that makes sense. I'm not going to pull all of these down. I should, shouldn't I? Yeah, okay. Let's move you two then. So I can grab 4 of these. And by the way, this is going to be a long video and very lightly edited, honestly. So this is just background noise for you, honestly. This is just relaxing background noise. And it's also keeping me accountable for fucking doing this at last. So, first up, Mark Billingham's Crybaby. Like I said, the first book I reviewed this year. And yes, I definitely enjoyed it. No, it's not a special edition. Now, as much as I would read this again, I don't think I will. Just because it's quite a dense book and obviously heavy subjects. But no, it's not here for sentimental. Well, kind of, because it's the first book I reviewed for the channel. And that does hold a bit of sentiment to it. But the thing is, I don't think I need it for either a sequel or a future video. Because while I do... I know I said that with keeping Elena on Mass. But I genuinely would enjoy reading that again a lot more than this. Just because that's a much more cozy kind of easy read. Whereas this, because of the content matter, is not necessarily an easy read. And I genuinely think somebody else is going to get as much enjoyment out of this as I did. And also, I think every Mark Billingham book is at my local library. So if I really desperately wanted to read this again, I can go there. I think all of his stuff, the Thorn stuff, is at my local library. So at some point I do want to start reading through them. I might have Sleepyhead somewhere. It's not on my shelf, but I swear I bought it from a little charity stand thing that's at my local Tesco. I have a few books from that. It's £1 for a book. Anyway, this is going in the donate pile. Next, we have Emma Blackery's Feel Good 101. Now, this is, let me find it, a signed copy, but it's signed in that way that sometimes at Waterstones, they just have collections of books that have been signed. I assume that she did, when this came out, I assume that she did a book tour and then they get left at, like, there are some that get left at the store kind of thing. Not dedicated, but still signed kind of deal, if that makes sense. I don't know how that works. But I think I have read this once when I first found it, and I was like, oh, a signed copy, because I used to watch her videos a lot. But I have only read it once, and I think this is a book that was good for me at the time, but I just feel like I've grown out of it now. This was a book that was better for me when I was in my like teens, a little late teens when I got this. I don't know when it came out, and I don't know if I got it when it came out. Yeah, this came out in 2017, and I probably didn't get it that much after. I remember getting it from the Waterstones in Aber, I'm pretty sure, or in the one in Manchester just before I went to university in my first year, depending on when it came out. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure, but I was like 18 when this came out, probably 18 or 19 when I first read it. I don't need this anymore, but somebody else might find this good, it being signed and all that. Next up, Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. Don't come at me for pronunciation. I'm not getting rid of this. This has a million different reasons that I'm keeping it. So, I first read that because of my lovely, lovely English teacher at sixth form who had an obsession with that book. And I was like, I'm going to read that because, yeah, I was that gay kid who was just like, my English teacher is my favourite person when I'm at college. Who's fucking surprised, right? But I read it, I bloody enjoyed it. I also do want a tattoo of that at some point. Not necessarily of that cover, but I want a behemoth tattoo at some point. Also, just because a big fat black cat as a tattoo is great fun. And I think about the scene where he's annoyed that he can't get on the tram all the time. It's such a good book. One of my favourites. It's not going anywhere. I don't know if that copy is the one that I have actually read, because I think I had an audio and ebook version, and it might be a slightly different translation. Apparently there is a better translation than that particular copy, but I own that for the sentimental reasons of just having a physical copy of it. Next up, Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre. Now, I loved this book. I wasn't expecting to love this book. I got this for, I can't remember which module it was. It might have been the 19th century literature, but I'm pretty sure it's not. I'm pretty sure it was a different module. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I wasn't expecting to like this because this was still at the time where Bronte stuff, Austen stuff wasn't my vibe. I was just, it's a lot of rich people problems, and I was expecting this to just be pure rich people problems. What it is phenomenal, and this is a beautiful copy, and it's nice to see paperbacks that are nice. I probably can't read this again because it looks like there's a bit of issue with the adhesive here, but genuinely fantastic book. So let's go through the did I enjoy it? Yes. Is it a special edition? Yes. It's a paperback, but it's still a special edition. Will I read it again? No, really. Will I read it again? If I do, it would probably be an audiobook form which I do still have, I think, but because I occasionally just I don't have all of them still, because some of them come with the Audible library and I don't currently subscribe, but I would still probably read it from them. But I think because of just a lot of, yeah, no, this one's staying. I don't have to justify myself. Right, they can go back on here for now. So we have our mass diamond, right? So that's they're bees. So that can go there now. That can go away. Bronte. Then Bulgakov. Let's just shuffle you out of the way for now. We'll put you back later. All of these I am keeping. I'm just letting you know what they are. So, History Boys by Alan Bennett. You can see that I have 2 copies. One of them is in a state, one of them isn't. So I had this one. Oh my god, is that the front? Does it not even have a front cover anymore? When did it lose its front cover? You can see it's in a state, but this is I'm keeping this till my dying day because it's very sentimental to me. Both of these are sentimental to me. Just this story is the only good thing James Corden has ever done. No, I forget that he's in it. So we studied this in sixth form, and it is just, oh, I love it so much. And I think it's because obviously in my first one I still have all of my, I've got to be so gentle with this. I have a lot of notes in this one. I don't know how many notes I have in the second one, but I needed a new copy for the purposes of actually writing my essay. I think I have some notes in this. I don't have any notes in this one. I wouldn't usually write notes, physical notes, in books. I'm not a huge fan of doing that, but I just feel, yeah, very sentimental. And I was really struggling a lot when I was in sixth form with my brain, and being able to stay behind, actually. Okay, you're back. I hope this shot is fine. It'll do. So yeah, I stayed behind with my teacher and just got this essay right. I'm also gonna just move you down slightly. I think that's okay. Absolutely terrified of my phone breaking every time that happens. But yeah, just pure sentimental reasons. As is the same case with The Bloody Chamber. I've studied this multiple times. I fucking love this book. And was it Night of the Circus that I read? The title slipped me by, but yeah, that book was the same sort of reason. I studied that. Sixth form, I studied that in my first. Sorry, you fell over again. I hope you don't fall over again. Anyway, last up in my I'm keeping this and I don't owe you an explanation is my huge collection of Lord Byron poems. I think he's funny. As a human being, I found him fascinating. As a poet, yeah, he's alright. No, there are poems which I genuinely really enjoy. But on the whole, I went through a bit of a hyperfixation with reading his poems, finding everything about him, and there should have been signs that I had ADHD sooner, but they weren't. Right. I'm not going to take the next Lucy Diamond book down, but that's Anything Could Happen. I'm just going to put this one away. Wait. Yeah, we're going to put these in that order, because that looks nicer. Right, I can put these back up now. So we're probably gonna do a bit of zooming through now, just because this is just me putting my figures back up after taking stuff down. These are now not in order, but that's fine. So, first up here, Bruce Dickinson's autobiography, What Does This Button Do? I'm pretty sure I don't have a signed copy of this. I didn't get a special edition. No, I did not. Now, I definitely really enjoyed this book, but I believe I still have the audio book. I'm probably never... I do quite like the way it looks on my shelf, though. Here's the thing. I think I'm going to keep this, because I fucking love Iron Maiden. And this comes under my... You know what? Who can tell me no? It's going back on the shelf. I know I should be going through my criteria. Did I enjoy it? Yes. Is it a special edition? Well, it's a hardback, but I think most autobiographies are, so that's a no. Will I read it again? Probably not this version of it. Is it here for sentimental reasons? Actually, yes, because I do love Iron Maiden. That comes under sentimental. There is a reason that, as you saw in the Iron Maiden video, I have all the vinyls. I have one of his solo vinyls, but I don't think I have any more than that. I won't need to reread it for a video. Oh, it's staying. You know what? Because of the sentiment. Sentiment? Yeah, fuck it. It's staying. Next. Classic Tales of Horror, edited by Stephanie Dowrick. I am keeping this because this was given to me by my grandma when at least I'm pretty sure, I can't remember if she directly gave me this or this is something that I picked up. I don't know if she gave me some money when I was going to university to get some books for me, not for university kind of thing. But either way, in some roundabout way, this is from her. So this is staying. And yes, these next ones might be slightly out of order because I was just putting them down. But I think I've managed to actually keep them in order there. Yeah, because I was just taking them off the shelf. So next up, Neil Gaiman's Art Matters. This is a book that genuinely means so much to me. Did I enjoy it? Yes. Is it a special edition? No, it's just that's what the book looks like. Will I read it again? Yes, because I can read it in about 30 minutes, and this is a book that I do turn to sometimes. Usually when I'm having art block or I have massive imposter syndrome about something. If I get a commission and somebody's paying me decent money for a commission, so when I'm doing art and I'm like, but that's real people money. I'll read this because it makes me feel better. So is it here for sentimental reasons? Yes, obviously. And while I don't need to reread it for sequels or future videos, though I may actually do a dedicated video on this, I did a written review of it. I'm pretty sure when I was still doing written reviews, but it would be nice to do a video on that because it's brilliant. Oh, it's by Neil Gaiman. I don't know if I said. It's called Art Matters, and the art is by Chris Riddell, who has done a fair amount with Neil Gaiman, I believe. Next up we have Neil Gaiman's The Quite Nice and Fairly Accurate Good Omens script book, adapted from the internationally beloved novel by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. And then here is the actual Good Omens. Now, as I said, I have a Good Omens tattoo. These are staying. So, actually we want to put these the other way around, don't we, just in case. Next up, How to Talk to Girls at Parties by Neil Gaiman, Fabio Moon and Gabrielle Ba. I think that's how you say that. It's B with a little BA with a little accent over it, and I don't know what the accents do, but I did enjoy this. It's not a special edition. I probably won't read it again. I don't feel particularly sentimental towards it, and I probably don't need it for any reason for a future video, be it sequels or reference. That one was easy. There's a couple of them that are like that I was looking at going, you know what though? I think it can go. Next up, Neuromancer, William Gibson. Now, I read this for study the first time, and while it is on my shelf in my have read, and I do want to come back to this in the future with a non-study mindset, because some books, some books that I've studied, part of the enjoyment of them was studying them. I fucking hate Moby Dick, but I loved studying it. There's so much to get into. I love Hamlet, and studying it really amplified that. But with Neuromancer, there was something in the back of my head that was stopping me fully enjoying it, because I knew I was reading it for study, and I want to come back to it because it's brilliant. And especially with the current state of things at the minute, like fucking AI art. Fuck AI art. If you use AI art, please still subscribe to me. Hello, you fell over again. This is why we stopped filming on my window. As soon as I got a desk, I'm like, fuck this, we're going on there, because the tripod isn't great, it's quite cheap. But, like I was saying, listen, if you use AI art beyond a tool, because I've been reading some people saying, it's like, oh, I've got disabilities, AI can sometimes help me with that. But, look at this pretty portrait. Ooh, why did it give me big boobs? Because it's taking shit from everywhere else, and I am terrified. I'm quite lucky. I don't do art that is... I do portraits from reference. I'm lucky. That means that I am probably not ever going to have my work stolen. But there are so many people that does. That's how AI art works. It's all fucking stolen. It's bullshit. Anyway. Out of Love, Hazel Hayes. This is staying. 1, it's a signed copy. I supported the original... not a Kickstarter, what's it called? Unbound, which is basically like Kickstarter for publication. And the cover, let me get it back out. This little cover, I don't even know if I want the colours. I think I just want the line art. I want that tattooed on me somewhere. And in a very similar style to that, just simple line art, I do want the creation of Adam Hands here, because you can't really see it when I'm wearing a shirt. I'm like, I'm not fucking taking it off. But I have a rib that kind of sticks in. Like injuries from when I was a kid, that it's fine now, but like there wasn't really any healing that could be done because my bones were still growing because I was a child, and it looks like I've got a missing rib. So I think the hand of God, that's a football thing, isn't it? I don't know shit about sports, apart from the fun ones like wrestling. Anyway, The Talented Mr. Ripley by Patricia Highsmith. Now, I want to keep this for a possible video that I want to do, because I found out something recently. 1, this is a really pretty edition that I managed to talk my mum into getting me when I was studying it, and I was like, oh, but it's a really nice edition. I could have got a simple one, but I found this and I thought it was really pretty. But I found out that, now, I might have got names mixed up here, but Carol, the film, the book that was based on, I think it's called like The Price of Salt or something like that. Different name, but it's a pen name, I believe, for Patricia Highsmith. Now, obviously, I'm always interested in queer fiction and queer history, and I remember reading that book and thinking there's something fruity going on here, and I want to read it again in that light. Clara and the Sun, we're keeping this. If you watch my review of it, you'll know why. Now, we're going to speed through a quick bit of just me putting back all of my little fellas. So, on that first shelf, we have got rid of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, that's not bad. It's probably more than I was expecting. Next shelf. So, first up we have, let's put these down, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Now, did I enjoy it? Yes. Is it a special edition? No. No, I probably won't read it again. Just because it was good, but it's not the sort of thing I would go back to in terms of like, nice and comforting. And if I'm going to reread books, there has to either be a fun element or like a comforting element to it. So like rereading Dracula, it's not a light-hearted, fun book, but it's funny. And I read it a lot since I was a kid, so there's that to it. Now, is it here for sentimental reasons? Now, I could say maybe because this was one of the ones that my friend picked out, but I also know them well enough to know that like they probably own this, and it's probably one of those books that I could borrow off them if I wanted to read it in the future. I also know my library has a huge like YA middle grade, like this kind of book collection, so it can go. If I'm desperate to read it again, there are ways for me to find it. Collected Ghost Stories by M.R. James. This is staying. Did I enjoy it? Yes. Is it a special edition? Look at it. It's fucking gorgeous. And it was quite expensive. And that is something that sticks in my head. Will I read it again? Not in whole, but in part. I would read some of these stories again. Is it here for sentimental reasons? A little bit. I remember this was one of the final books I was using for like my third year. Not for my dissertation, but for one of my final projects in my third year. I remember using this in huge part. And while I don't need it for any future videos, it is just nice to have. It's a really pretty copy. So, M.R. James, you are staying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these over here. Let's move that on there so I can track each shelf. 100-Year-Old Man, I already mentioned that earlier in the video, that I'm keeping that for the sake of a sequel. And next up we have Adam Kay's 'Twas the Night Shift Before Christmas. Now, I enjoyed this, not quite as much as the first, and while I would read this again, I probably won't. So, enjoyed it? Yes. Special edition? No. Will I read it again? Probably not. Is it here for sentimental reasons? No. Do I need to reread it for any sequel purposes? No. Will I need it for a future video? No. There's nothing big making me want to keep this, so... Alright. Next up we have two books. I'm probably just going to say that I'm going to keep. So we have Shades of A and Minority Monsters by Tab Kimpton. These are beautiful books that I got when they visited my uni for a talk. I think I got both of them at that point. I certainly got one of them. I think Minority Monsters. And I might have got Shades of A when I met them at Manchester Comic Con a few years ago. But those books are very comforting. They do hold quite a sentimental thing. Just, again, queer fiction, supporting, especially independent queer authors. They're fucking staying. I love them very much. Next, there's something in my shirt. I think it's dust. I do not clean my bookshelves often enough. Shh, don't tell anyone. Next we have Carmilla by J. Sheridan Le Fanu. Now, this was a gift from my friend. Therefore, it is staying. if it's a direct gift, it's staying. Like the recommendations that I got earlier this year, no guarantee that I will keep them for any sentimental purposes, but with that one, it's a direct gift, so it's staying. Next, Benjamin Markovitz's Imposture. Now, for multiple reasons, this is staying. One, it's a signed copy. Two, so the English teacher that I was talking about from my sixth form knew about my hyperfixation with Lord Byron, and at some point, towards the end of my time there, he gave me this, and I was like, oh, that's so fucking sweet. You didn't have to do that. And then I find out it's a signed copy when I get home, and I was just like, this is so sweet, and this book is brilliant. And I also do have the sequel, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if I can see it. No, because I think it's on my bottom shelf, which is currently behind a like a little stool thing. But that's staying for reasons I think you can understand. Next up, Storm by Tim Minchin. Now, I love this beat poem, and therefore it's a beat poem when he performs it live. Obviously not a beat poem in written form. The graphic novel is brilliant, but did I enjoy it? Yes. Special edition? No. Will I read it again? Probably not, because if I'm going to listen to this, if I'm going to enjoy this poem again, I'm probably just going to listen to it. And it's not really like one of those, like Bruce Dickinson's. So with Bruce Dickinson's, I have other reasons with it being very sentimental, and also it just fits on my shelf like a normal book. So the Shades of A and Minority Monsters stick out. This one also really sticks out, and that does sometimes annoy me. Like the Minority Monsters, it's just like, oh, I wish I'm considering moving it over to the special edition shelf, but it's fine for now. I might see if that'll fit up there. Anyway, where was I? I don't need to reread it for any sequel reasons or future video reasons, so it can stay there. I'm just going to see if this will move up here. I don't think so. I don't think there's quite enough space. No, it will not. Like, get you back in there. Right, go on. You can get in there. Go on. Anything else there? No. So did that. Right. Let's get a big bunch out. Freya North's Pillow Talk. I've probably spoken about this book a million times on this channel. For obvious reasons, I think I'm falling over. I think you can understand that I'm going to keep this. This does have sentimental reasons as well. So let's go through it. Did I enjoy it? Yes. Is it a special edition? No. Will I read it again? I don't know. Legitimately, I have no idea. Is it here for sentimental reasons? Yes. Because when I first got this, I will be frank and say that I read the blurb and thought it sounded really pulpy and silly. And I read some of it with my flatmates, and there are some slightly silly moments with it. But, yeah, sentimental reasons. And while I don't need to read it for a sequel, I might need it for a future video, because for the same reason, there was a book I was talking about earlier. Oh, Cat Person. Same video as that. Next up, Hamnet. I'm just going to put it in the donate pile. I enjoyed it. I won't ever need it again. My 3 Beth O'Leary books, they're all staying because I think her books are wonderful. I have read one book of hers that I didn't enjoy, and that was The Road Trip, and that's because I found the male, it's a straight relationship, so the male romantic lead, I found him annoying and he seemed like a bit of a Tory. Next up, History of Heavy Metal by Andrew O'Neill. For multiple reasons I'm keeping this. Yes, I enjoyed it. Yes, it's a special edition because it is signed. And a dedicated signing as well, because I got this signed when I met him at one of his gigs. Him? No. I don't know what pronouns they use now. I know they used to use any pronoun. Okay, hang on, my laptop's having a go at me. Right, go away a second. Come here. Do we have pronouns? No. They, them. Right. My apologies for using the wrong pronouns there. They used to use any pronouns, but now they, them. There we go. There. Some of them just talking about gender and through their comedy stuff really helped me in my early days of transition and just feeling comfortable, because when I first came out, I was very like, oh, I have to be masculine and manly, and I dress like a knockoff fucking Winchester. And yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. Watching a lot of their stuff really helped with me feeling comfortable in my gender. Next up, Solitaire by Alice Osman. I also have the second Heartstopper book somewhere. I think that's downstairs. I'll be keeping both of those. I think her books are very comforting and sweet. And also, this might be useful, along with Heartstopper, for the future Heartstopper. When they're going to be releasing a second series, I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the first series. That might be useful along with the books. So, please be gentle when you fall. There we go. Next up, Edgar Allan Poe, Stories and Poems. I'm keeping this. It was a gift and therefore very sentimental, and one that I had no idea I was getting as well. I remember, like, I'd been feeling a little bit rough at one point, and my friend was just like, surprise, give me your address. And I'm like, excuse you? And I was like, okay, here's where I live. And I got a cute little card off them, and I got that. Next up, we have two books by Sajan Rai. We have Brocco and Friends, which is, I love this so much. I think this one's signed. Yeah, fuck shit up. I think it's wonderful. That's absolutely staying. I met them at a Comic-Con, and they're just absolutely lovely and wonderful. And then I also have Haiku. It's illustrated haikus, and they're bloody lovely. Bloody get a load of that. Probably can't see shit, but I can, and I think it's bloody lovely. And next we have Philip Reeves' Railhead. I was in a brain not wanting to read anything that I owned, so I went to one of my flatmates, who's actually the same person that recommended Solitaire, and I was like, tell me a book to read. And they were like, I read this one and I liked it, and I really liked it. And I have the sequel somewhere, I'm pretty sure. And I do, because it's been so long since I read that, I don't even think I was reviewing at the point I read that. And I started reviewing in like 2018, I think. So, yeah, I want to read that before reading the sequel. Hello, thank you. Actually, I'm going to move all of these now, because I think I'm keeping all of them just from first glance. So, first up we have Sam Kills Christmas and Art is Dead by Thomas Tomska Ridgewell. Sam Kills Christmas illustrated by Darina. I'm going to put that name on the screen here because I don't think I've ever heard that pronounced. And then we have Art is Dead, the Astaf book, and that is also written by Tom and illustrated by Matt Lay. Both of these signed, and every time I've met Tom, he has been very lovely. Definitely didn't threaten to steal his teeth at Telford Comic Con, but yeah, he's very lovely and just hugely sentimental. That's the wrong way around, babes. I mean, this book is a pain in the arse to store because it sticks out, and I could put it that way, but then it's too far in the shelf, and I put it that way and it's too far out. But we live. Next, this is Goblin Market and Other Poems by Christina Rossetti. So, this book is one that I got after studying her stuff in sixth form, and I realised that I just fell in love with her poetry, and I found that edition, and I didn't even know there was a cloth-bound edition of her stuff, but it's beautiful. I do want a Goblin Market tattoo at some point, and that's staying. Next up, the first three books. What the fuck is that? Anyway, the first three books in the Cirque du Freak series. I want the full collection at some point. I was always meant to just keep reading and getting the full collection, but it just, for some reason, never happened. I think I was starting to age out of them just at the point that I was getting towards the third one, because I was reading them really quickly, and I read them all that I had, but I must have moved on to something else. But I want to read that whole collection for a video, because I want to revisit them, and I want to be able to visit the stuff that I haven't read yet. Next up, this is an annual from the year 2000. Well, essentially, it's the annual 2000, which I don't know if that works like, you know, like FIFA games, where the current FIFA is like 2023, not 2022, even though it's come out in 2022. I can't remember if annuals work like that. So I think this might be from 99. Which means this book is about as old as I am. It's fucking staying. And I'm really annoyed. Okay, so I don't think it is this one. I think I've lost that. Is there a contents page? Yeah, page 22. I'm pretty sure this isn't the one where I have... No, it's not. Okay. So, off the top of my head, I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy who was inside R2-D2 for, at the very least, the original trilogy, I met him at a convention and had, because I had the Clone Wars one, not the Clone Wars, Attack of the Clones. I had that annual as well, and I had that signed by him, and I have not been able to find that for years, and it's so annoying, and I've moved house a bunch of times, so it's just probably never going to show up by now. Next up, we have Portrait of the Artist as a Young Dog by Dylan Thomas. This is a short story collection. You can see where I have bits that I really enjoyed. This is staying. I love Dylan Thomas. I have Under Milk Wood, which I have read, but I have it in my haven't read bit because it's been a lot of years and I want to cover it in a video at some point. So it's in there. And then finally, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, with some other short stories in there. I might come back to this at some point because I've not read any of the other short stories, but I have read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and this is staying because, one, it could be a useful reference. Two, I fucking love gothic horror. I'm a sucker for it. So, shelf 2, we have been rid of 4 books by the looks of it. Yeah, 4 books on there. Bringing the total up to 9? Yeah, go me. I'm actually getting rid of things. We're now, let's get rid of the clown for a second, on the last section. And I can do these all at once, if I can get them out. Come here, you little bastard. Get out. Oh. So. Now. Yeah, I know. First up, I don't have the dust cover for this anymore. I lost it in a move. But this is... I know, I'm going to fix it. First up we have In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. Are you going to keep making noises? I am going to sort you when we're not filming anymore. So, I really enjoyed this, and then I was immediately on it. I need to read more of her stuff, and then I didn't. Which makes me think I should possibly get rid of this. Now, this is probably not going to be able to go to a library. It's in a bit of a state. It doesn't have the dust cover on anymore. It's a fucking beautiful actual cover, though. Because some things, you get in dust covers and you take them off and they're a bit beige and plain. And that's fine. But this? Oh! We love to see it. But it's going. Wah! Nearly fell over. Next, we have Train Spotting by Irvin Welsh. This is staying because I fucking love this book, and I'm almost certain I have one of the other sequels. Might be down here. In fact, it probably would be. Or maybe I don't. I was certain I had one of the other sequels. I might have it on Audible. But it is a case of I want to keep that for the sake of the sequels. And also, I really love that book. And that's one of those that I can just keep because I love it so much. And look, I have space on my shelf now to fucking keep it. Next up, we have Our Country's Good by Wharton Baker. I can't remember the person's first name. Is it in here? Old name. Gross. Timberlake Wharton Baker. And this is absolutely staying for very sentimental reasons. This is a book, it's a script that I studied during sixth form drama, and every time I'm reminded that I own it, it brings me joy. Because it's something that just kind of sits on my shelf, honestly, but it sparks joy for me. I'm never going to read that again, but I'm also never going to get rid of it because it is a source of enjoyment. Next up, we have Vampire Guitar by Ricardo X. Rock and Roll with Teeth. It's a comedy horror. It's ridiculous. I picked it up for £1, as you can see. Look, should I keep this? No. Am I going to? Yes, because I actually do want to come back to this for a possible review in the future. It's on my have read because I don't even know if I actually finished it. So I might move this into my haven't read because I started reading it with all my flatmates at the time and it was stupid and we were enjoying it and we were getting out of it exactly what you're supposed to with a book like that, which is, this is ridiculous. What am I reading? It's the most B-movie bullshit you've ever seen and I love it very dearly. Next up we have Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zona of Japanese breakfast fame, who I am now listening to pretty fucking regularly, honestly. I hadn't heard of Japanese breakfast when I read this. This was one of the books that where's that? Oh, I must have lent that to my brother as well. I was like, I swear I had another book, the Yahtzee Crusher book, We'll Save the Galaxy for Food. What are you doing there? When I get that back from my brother, that's absolutely staying, because along with the Grady Hendrix stuff, because I love them all very much, and in the case of We'll Save the Galaxy for Food, I'm going to read the sequel, therefore I need that. Am I keeping this? See, I loved this book and it was beautiful, but I think if I ever read this book again I will be emotionally devastated, and I have the audiobook of it as well, I think. Or if I don't, I can do. I genuinely don't think I could read this again. I think this is a book that I read, and I'm really glad I did. Don't look at me like that. Next up is Mainstream. It is a collection of short stories. My friend is in this. It's staying. And finally, Night Terrors by Alice Vernon. If you watched my Halloween special, you will know. It's fucking staying. We only got rid of one, but I mean, what we had? 7 books on that little shelf. So getting rid of one isn't too bad. Bringing us up to 10, I think. Yeah. You know what? That's more than I thought. So we can now start. I can finally start moving around the rest of my. I mean, we've still not actually moved up that much because I had to put 1 or 2 actually in the shelf, and obviously when I get a few books back and that sort of thing, they're still going to end up in my shelf and probably stacked on top. But I'm not complaining too much. I'm pretty happy with how this looks. Will that shuffle? Yeah, you can move. Come on. Get in there. That'll now fit in there. We can shuffle that up. That leaves... Actually, we've got a bit more space. Actually, we probably don't. Because as soon as I move those into the right place, because I have 3... You would have seen them ones earlier, actually. We have 3 books stacked on there, so they'll probably be all that fits. But I think we did pretty good. So I hope you enjoyed this little decluttering. I always like watching these videos. I'm sorry for you falling over so many times. On Thursday, you will be seeing me reviewing Finding Love at the Christmas Market by Joe Thomas. Next Thursday will be another Christmassy book. I need to put the clown back. That's such a... Yeah, here he is. Here's my little clown. He's a horrible little man, and I love him very dearly. I used to hate clowns when I was younger, and I bought that. So you fell over again when I was talking about the clown, and maybe he's like cursed me or something, but I'm not putting you back in the fucking tripod. Will you stop making noises at me, pretty please? Anyway, the lighting's probably not as good now because you're not actually on the tripod, but what we're saying is I got that clown as exposure therapy, and I used to have it next to my mirror so that I had to look at it every day, and I went from hating clowns, really viscerally hating clowns, to now loving them. And if they look like they're made by a Victorian with a haunting problem, yeah, that's all the better for me. But I was saying, you know, next Thursday, so this Thursday, Finding Love at the Christmas Market. Next Thursday, another Christmassy book. I know it's called Gifts. I can't remember the author off the top of my head. And then there will be 2 books at the end. 2 books? 2 videos in the last week of the year, with one of them being like the last 6 months wrap up in the style of the one that I did earlier this year. Just a quick, here's what I've read, and here are all the ones that I thought were my favourites. And then my last video of the year will be a top 10, slightly more in-depth, here's what I really enjoyed kind of a deal. I don't know what's going to feature on there at this point, but stick around and find out. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful night, a wonderful whenever you are watching this. Take care of yourselves. Right.